Alrighty then, hello everyone, it's Nero Geist, and welcome to Animating with Nero, episode 2. Today we're going to actually learn something unlike my first episode, and what we're going to learn today is the basics of Flash, or my knowledge on the basics of Flash. So, hopefully I will teach you something today. Let's get into it. Alright, so, what I use is Flash Professional CS 5.5. You might be using a different version of Flash, but this is the version I use. So bear that in mind that it might be different in your version when I explain things, or when I tell you how to do something or how to change something. It might be different in yours, but from what I can tell, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be that much of a difference, but I don't know. So hopefully it's the same on your program or on your version. So alright, so we're gonna just jump right in. When you start up Flash, it should start up like this. At least the CS versions should start up like this. You get this little window right here that starts you out, kind of thing. It gives you these little options that you can use. For the most part, you can ignore these, except for Open Recent. That's always really helpful if you're working on something and then you just start it up and it's like, oh yeah, you can use the one that you can open the program that you were just doing, and you don't have to go up to File and open it yourself, which is nice. So you have to alright, let's start with trying to create a new file. So this stuff you don't really have to pay attention to. So in order to create a new file, you can actually do it right here, but I suggest not doing it because it sets everything up for you. You can't like change the well, you can change afterwards, but it doesn't really, it just opens it for you, and you don't really have a choice of what you want for frame rate or for how big your canvas size should be and whatnot. So I suggest going up here and doing the regular go to File and New, and when you do that, this window comes up. And what this window is pretty much how to set up your Flash program or your Flash file. So width and height, that's the width and height of your showbox or canvas or whatever you want to call it, the area where your animation will be taking place. So what I suggest to you for this is when you make your width and height, I suggest doing it in an HD ratio or HD resolution. So I usually do 1280 by 720, and that is an HD ratio. I could do 1080, but for some odd reason, I just feel weird when it's that big. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't really matter, because since it's the same ratio, mine can be put up to 1080 without any problems, without losing resolution. But it's whatever your preference is. I suggest using HD because it's much easier to export it out as a video file in post-production. So ruler units, pixels, whatever this is, it doesn't really matter. It's about gridding of the area, and I don't think we'll be using that for animation purposes, at least. Frame rate is a very important thing. Frame rate is how fast your animation is going, or how it's hard to explain. I'll explain it more thoroughly when we get actually into it, because it's hard to explain with just the number and stuff. When I can explain it with a timeline, it works way better. Background color, that's the color of the actual show area or template. It really doesn't matter because if you're using backgrounds and stuff, you're just gonna be over the background color anyways, unless you want it to have a different color. Usually white is the best, from what I can tell. Autosave is something that some people have and other people don't. It's really a personal preference. I've heard people hate it. I heard people love it. I personally hate it. I mean, what am I saying? I personally love it. It really is helpful, especially when you forget to save and then Flash crashes and then you lose everything. That's never a good thing. But it's whatever you want. Some people don't even have the option. I think this is the what's it called? The oldest option that has it, CS 5.5. So anything under than this, I don't think they don't have it. But yeah, it's whatever you want, your personal preference. So we got everything started up. Let's just press OK to start our file. And what should happen is it should pop up. Give it a second here to load everything. Oh, there we go. Perfect. All right, so we have our Flash program, our Flash file. All right, well, first off, this big white square, this is the canvas or the show area. I really don't know what term it is called actually, so I'm just gonna say it's the canvas. So, the canvas, or per se, whatever, it is where your animation will take place. So, if I were to go to Tools, which is down here, it's usually at the bottom right but it could be on the left, it could be anywhere, but for me it's right down here. If I went to Tools and I went to Paintbrush and I were to draw something or paint something like a stick man, he will be shown in the canvas. But if he's going to flick someone off outside the canvas, we will not see it because he's in the gray area, so we'll just see his hand cut off right here. So that is the purpose of the canvas. Alright, so that's the canvas. Up here is very important. This is the timeline. The timeline is where the animation is going to take place. This is how animation works, is up here. Let's see how I can explain this. Alright, see these numbers? These are individual frames. And remember what I was talking about, frames per second? Well, this is what frames per second is. Frames per second is how many frames, well, per second. So, if one frame is one picture, like this, very poor stickman, but if one frame, then he's in one frame right here. So, if I were to put a different frame, or if I put and add another frame to him, or if I keep adding more frames to him to 24, then he will be there for a full second. So that's how frames per second works. 24 frames per second is usually the normal, or the norm for animators, or Flash animators, that is. A lot of people use 24. Some people use 30. I use 30 frames per second for quite a while. That's just the regular frames per second for movies and for film. So yeah. So it's really, honestly, it's your preference. If you want, if you just gotta experiment a little when you animate. But we're not here to learn that. We're here to learn the basics. So I'm just gonna show you the basics of that. So you can tell how awesome I am at teaching you, because I have no idea how to start this. Okay. Timeline. Let's get back to the timeline. This little thing right here, this little guy right by my mouse, that is a single frame. It is white because there's nothing on the canvas, nothing is drawn. But when I draw something like this, now it's gray. That is how you know that there's something on there. If it's gray, that means you know there's something in the little circles filled in and whatnot. So that is how you know what's in there. So if it's white, then you know it's nothing. So how to extend the frames. So if I want to draw a bouncing ball, and I want to draw another picture or another frame for him to go down, or for him to move, you'd have to do another frame. And the way to do this is you can go into insert. Oh, I know. Oh, it's freezing for me. Sorry. I apologize. what you want to do is not up here. I apologize. You can use the hotkey F6. F6 will create a new frame for you, which is exactly the same as the last one. So there. Now we can just oops, sorry. Oh, so everything's going wrong. No. Why is this doing this? Oh, jeez. Alright. So now we'll just move. Why is my hotkey not working? I apologize. 1 second. Okay, now Flash. I believe Flash is crashing. No, it's not. We're good. False alarm, everyone. Alright, so then we would move it to, you know, animate. So that's how this is pretty much the basic of animation. You get to another frame, you move it, you press F6 for another thing, and honestly, I don't understand why it's doing this. It's usually not supposed to change, or it's not supposed to press view when you press V. I use hotkeys to move my stuff around, and it's kind of confusing. I apologize, but this is how frames work, really. It's just you move it up, and you can play it. This is just very basic of a ball almost falling and hitting the ground. But yeah. But yeah, so that's the timeline. We'll get into that a little bit more in depth in more episodes. But yeah, so that's the timeline. That's how you do your frames. F6 is to add another frame. That's exactly the same as the last one. You can always delete it and then draw another thing. I don't understand. Okay. Everything is going wrong in this tutorial, and I do not like it. Alright. So, timeline. Alright. Up here, or right below the timeline, you can see what frames per second you want. And this is how you can change what you want for your frames per second. Right here, it says 24 FPS. You can click it, and you can change it to 30, or it won't let me. Okay. But usually it should change it for you. If not, you can always go, right click, go to document properties, and you can change the width and height, and the frame rate's down here. So that's always an option for you if you want to change it. Alright, so up here is another very important thing for animation, for zooming in and whatnot. This is just the magnification area. They have preset magnification, but you can always just go 20 and do that, and it should bring you to the closest one, or whatever percentage that you want. If you want to zoom back out, I suggest clicking show frame, and I'll bring it back to where the frame is. Do not do fit in window, because sometimes it will delete the scrolly wheels, and that's always a nuisance because you won't be able to scroll up and down to see things. So yeah. So, and then let's talk about, well, we've talked about the frames and how you can move things around. Let's talk about symbols. That's what I needed to talk about. Symbols. Symbols are important. Alright, so on the right side of the screen, or the left side, or whatever one is your preference, or whatever it starts out with, there's a thing. Oh, Jesus. Alright. There's a thing called the library. Library is it's a library of symbols. What symbols are is like an object that you can use over and over again and use for more complex things of animation. So if this ball right here, I want this ball to be a symbol. So let's just delete these frames. If you want to delete frames, you can highlight them by just clicking and scrolling over, and then you can press the right click and then go to remove frames, and then they will be gone from existence. If I want to make this ball a symbol, you go click on it, so you can see the little dots. See this indicates that it is selected, and you go F8, and it says you press F8 to convert to symbol. Convert to symbol is how you convert it. However, you name it whatever you want, ball, and then you have 3 different types of symbols. There's movie clip, buttons, and graphics. Buttons are for gaming purposes and for just movie editing purposes, it's hard to say. You'd have to figure out how to code the button in order to use it. So we won't be using this all too much. Movie clip is pretty much the one that we'll be using because it's straightforward. Graphic is another example I can show later. It's useful for certain things, but right now we're just gonna use movie clip. So then you just press OK. There's the advanced option too, but I really don't know what this means, so it's not really a big issue for animation at least. So then you click OK, and now we have our ball in the library. Now you can see it's right here, and it's right here, and you can tell that it's a symbol because you have a blue square around it. And the thing about symbols that's great is no matter what you do, they will not be destroyed. So if I grab the eraser tool and I try to erase it, it will not erase. If I try to use a paint bucket and try to change the color, it will not change colors. It is indestructible unless you delete it yourself. There's a jackhammer outside my apartment because I have paper thin walls, and I apologize if that takes you away from the learning experience that is Nero, animating with Nero. So anyways, symbols. Symbols are good for reusing certain frames that you don't want to delete, and it's a really clean way of doing it. So if I want to make the bouncing ball, instead of redrawing it or doing the copy paste thing, I can just use this guy. So I'll just move it down to here, press F6 for another frame, down to here, press F6 for another frame, down here, press F6 for another frame, up here, press F6, press F6, press F6, press F6, and he's out of the screen. And now, just because of that, we've created an animation. See? It's very fast, but it gets the point. See, would you look at that? Just because of that, you're an animator. Perfect. There you go. My lesson is, my teaching's done. You got it. You got it from here. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So that's what symbols do. There's much more complex things you can do. But for the most part, they're pretty much used. Once I get into actual animation, I'll teach you how I use symbols and how I use them effectively and whatnot. And there's a lot more complexity into it, but I have to incorporate animation in that. And this is the basics of Flash, the train wreck that is my life. Okay. All right. Now that we've gotten that through, the toolbar. This is another one. I should have done this one first. The toolbar is all the things that we'll be using to make animations. So you got the pointer to select things right here. This guy is the sub selection tool. I think that's how you stop selecting or something. I never use it. This one right here is the free transform tool. This one is a really nice thing to use. What it does is it makes a box around your guy, has these dots, and you can change the size of your thing. And another neat tip for when you want to use it to scale it bigger without deforming it, like instead I want to make it big but I don't want it flat like that, you hold shift when you go out and it will, no matter how much I move it, it will go out in a fixed rate. Same for this. It doesn't really matter when you do stretching this way. But yeah, and if you go up to the corner, instead of actually touching the corner, if you go up a little outside the corner, you can rotate it however you want. This guy is really nice to use for animation, for like if you want to move a guy's hand and you draw the guy's hand a little bit off, you want it to tilt it a little bit, you can just click on it and tilt it. So yeah, oof, jeez, those kick cereals coming back up. All right. Lasso tool. Oh geez, I deleted a thing. Lasso tool is really nice to use. You just draw and it'll select a thing. So if you want to select a certain thing from a guy's hand or foot or whatever, you use the lasso tool. Also, keep in mind, symbols, no matter what you lasso, can't say that word, it will select all of it because it's one thing. You can't take parts of it. You can't destroy it. It's indestructible. So just another thing to note. Why do I keep deleting that? All right. Text tool, somewhat important, not really though. It's just, text. You highlight what you want to text, and then you just go blah, 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 blah. But you can't see it because the freaking font color is white. It's freaking out. Oh, there we go. That's weird. Okay, so text isn't really that important. Line tool. Line tool is really nice if you want to do. It's a line tools for certain people for artwork. Some people, I know a couple animators that don't use the brush at all. They just use the line tool to animate, and it's whatever preference you want. It's really mostly about how you gotta practice, or not really practice, but just fiddle around with all the tools and stuff and see what you're most comfortable for. I don't really use the line tool that much unless for backgrounds, and backgrounds, you know, just to make very smooth things with the lines. So yeah, there's my little house. So yeah, that's the line tool. Rectangle tool, same thing. What the rectangle tool does is when you pull it out, it gives the line color, which is over here, the pencil icon, that's the line color, and then the fill color, which is the brush and fill color. It will make the outline the line color, and then it'll fill in with the fill color automatically. So just bear that in mind. And also from here you can hold down on it, and you can select oval tool, rectangle primitive tool, all these other things. Oval tool and rectangle tool are pretty much the only ones that you should focus on. These ones are more complex, but if you can fiddle with those, I don't know how they work, but yeah. Oval tool, it's the same concept, do that. And if you want to keep it a simple circle without it squished or anything, you hold shift, like when you're scaling stuff, so then it's a perfect circle. So yeah. Pencil tool is just like the line tool. It uses the color from the line, or the line color, but it's in pencil version, so you can draw your own thing. A lot of people think, oh, let's use the pencil first. When I first started, I thought, oh, the pencil is the way to go, but to be honest, it doesn't create that smooth of lines. It's kind of iffy on the lines, and it's not really a way to go. For beginners, at least, it's kind of makes it a little messy. But if you perfect the line art like some people that I know, then it's for you. But for me, I use the brush tool, which is the next one. The brush tool is the amazing tool that will make your animations. You draw things. So yeah, I don't know what I'm drawing. Okay. Brush tool is important. Down here are the brush preferences. Brush mode is like if you want to paint fills. So if you're trying to put shadow on a character, but you don't want to draw over the lines, then you just like paint fills. These are just for helping the paint or whatever. But sometimes they're buggy, so usually I don't use them. Brush size is down here. Pretty simple. Brush shape, most people use circle, but I do not use circle. I use square for some odd reason. I don't know. I think I draw smoother lines with the square tool for me. So well, that's all I can think of for basics right now. Up here is the properties window. So instead of just right clicking and going to properties or to symbol properties or whatnot, you can just, for my version, you can just click on it, and then the properties are up here, and you can look and see what you want and what you need. So that's the basics of Flash, really. There's probably a lot more things that I missed because I'm not that good at teaching stuff, obviously, because I'm stuttering and whatnot. But I hope this was a good lesson for you. The next time I will make a video, it will be on basics of animation, and hopefully it will teach you more about animating, and hopefully this wasn't a waste of your time. So if you liked, click the like button, subscribe, comment on how bad I was. It's whatever. I'll see you next time. So yeah.